All right, let's see here. Bring everybody up. Oh, now I'm big. I don't need to be big. There we go. That's better. Hello, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Well, everyone should be coming in. I did not get on social media and send a lot of stuff out today. I was running behind. I did put out a few, but not as much as I normally do. All right. Sorry, I was looking at the notes. Tanner said he put stuff in the notes, but I don't see it. It's just not updated for me.
Oh no, did it not show up?
It will eventually. All right, so we've got people showing up. I see Liquid Zoo, Only Fins in the house saying, all right, all right, all right. We've got Keeper Kane is here saying,
how's it going, Kane?
Good. The wonderful Zen Ginger, the Zen Ginger in the house saying, hi, boys. I see Vibes Aquatics. What's cracking? Skull Aquatics is here. Hi, guys. Silver Creek Aquarist. Heyo, the welcome crew is about to hit. Fish Tank Dad. I got to know, is this Will Wheaton's brother? Do you ever get that, Derek?
Rarely, but occasionally, yes.
Let's see. I know him more from Big Bang than I do Star Trek. I'm not a Trekkie.
As far as I know, there's no relation.
Let's see. Bobby from Michigan asking what's up. Not much. Just getting started. Scotty the Fish Freak saying hello. Chris George is here. Mark Sterlson. I don't know why I trip over that one. Rico Stan is here. Oh, Rico Stan just ended, and he's sending people over. Thank you, Rico Stan. Audra Meyer. Oh, man, they just keep coming. MedCow74. Hello again. Peplin Creek Aquatics. Hello. I see Red Laser. Sky Dancer saying hello. And I think I'm catching up. Dennis Christensen. Hello, hello, everybody. Peplin Creek Aquatics. I don't think I said that one. Saying hi to Skull, but hi, Peplin. Rob Ziegler in the house. All right, we've caught up. Thank you, everybody, for coming by. We've already got 23 in here, so that's awesome. Glad to have all of you, and good to have Tanner back, even though he's gone right now. I get ready to say it's good to have him back, and I look, and he's just missing. That's okay. He's fixing things. We're trying to get going, trying to get things up and running. We've got. I'll go ahead and just introduce. We have Derek Wheaton with us again. Derek, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, we had such a good time last time, and we did not even scratch the surface of what we wanted to talk about. And before we got off the live stream, people were saying we ought to have you on again, if not on a regular basis. And I think we'll work something out.
Sounds good to me.
Good. All right, lots of people talking, catching up in the chat, and that's awesome. We're going to do things a little bit different tonight. We don't have a favorite topic type thing that we're doing this week. We're going to talk with Derek about a few things and then interact with the chat and just have a good time over the next hour. Hope you all are ready to chat and to talk about things. If you have any questions, make sure you put at Scruffy City Aquatics, and I'll try to make sure that we include that in the conversation. Also, I'm going to try not to say so many times. I would very much appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to the channel. If you're into fish type content, aquariums, that's what we do. So we'll be talking about local native species again tonight when we talk with Derek. And I'm just seeing if we've got anybody else. Looks like everybody's just chatting. That's cool. All right, Tanner. I didn't get a chance to catch up with you. You were gone last week. Did you have a good week?
Yes, it was great. Went down to Marco Island in Florida and just hung out at the beach for a week. Fished a little bit. Unfortunately, there wasn't much fresh water because it was an island. Did not realize this. I was planning on doing like freshwater, had been talking to Curtis about going and looking for some stuff, but so that didn't pan out. But other than that, it was a good week. I missed being on here last week, though.
Well, glad you had a good time. We did a little staycation this weekend. I took a few days off, and we didn't do a whole lot. Everybody wasn't feeling great, but we tried to get out and do a few things. And then on Monday morning, so yesterday, we went out to one of the local reservoirs and rented some kayaks and went kayaking, and we had a really good time with that.
Yeah, you went up to was it Big Ridge?
Yeah, up to Big Ridge.
Yeah, that's a good spot. I like that out there.
We love going to Big Ridge. Big Ridge is a state park, and they have Norton's Gristmill there, and that is named after my family.
Really?
Yeah, my great-great-grandfather ran the gristmill, so we like going up there. We've had family outings there, reunion type things and stuff like that, and it's a fun place for us to go. And we've been considering a kayak or a canoe. And so we just spent the day out there, and I don't know, might be something we do.
Kayaks are fun. I've got one.
Yeah. Oh, well, good. See, if I get a kayak, when you come in, you can haul the kayak, and we go kayak.
Definitely. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Let's see. Anyone else in? The Zen Ginger says, welcome back, Tanner.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
And all right, cool. Derek, did you make it up to the river this weekend?
Yeah, we salvaged it as best we could. The water level was pretty high. If we had gotten that really big storm maybe 1 or 2 days beforehand, it probably would have been fine, but the water was still up. It was not as murky as I would have expected, but it would have not been a great time to have novice snorkelers in the water.
Right. Yeah, we were really looking forward to that. And we knew, you said, as soon as we started talking about it, weather permitting. And, so we were hoping for good weather, and it did not happen. We had a major storm come through the area and just dump a ton of water on Knoxville and the mountains. And,
yeah, my boss has a rain gauge at his house, and he said when he woke up, it's 6 inches tall, and he said it was up to the top with water. So
wow,
it dumped a lot of rain.
Yes. And it sat because like the first storm that came through was real small, but once it got in our area, it just stopped. And it
was really weird.
And there were all kinds of crazy pictures, and the lightning flashed for like 7 hours straight. Nonstop lightning. It was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. I could not sleep. My room just kept lighting up.
We didn't get hit with much rain last weekend, but it's like actually you might hear it tonight, but it's storming pretty hard here.
Yeah.
It has been since like yesterday.
Well, that's what happens when you plan something outdoors. I'm looking forward to whenever we can, we can get together and do that. I know that next year we're hoping that we can get the club in on something. Just the club. It'd be fun to just have the club.
Yeah.
Get together and do something.
Everybody's
asking for it. We've actually got some people who are used to the area that said they could even do some like kayak and canoe trips. So I don't know. We make a huge day out of it. I don't know.
That would be very cool.
All right. So this week, let's see if I can put this up there. Here, there we go. And then we're nice and little over on the side. I like that. So I have no idea what fish is on this image. It's a very cool looking fish, but we are going to be talking about saving native species on this live stream. And we have Derek here with us. Derek is a professional. I don't know what the title is. I don't have my notes in front of me.
Conservation biologist.
Conservation biologist. I knew it was something smart like that.
We try to make it sound really good.
Yeah. Well, that's what we all do. My title at work is much longer than my job description. What kind of fish am I looking at here?
So that is a mating spawning pair of cherry darters. They're only native to a little bit of Middle Tennessee, only in the Caney Fork drainage. So if you've ever done any of the float trips down the Caney Fork, you've floated over a lot of those guys.
Oh wow! I didn't even notice the second one down under there.
I didn't either. He was talking about multiple fish, and I was like, "What?"
I'm assuming, is that the male up top?
Yep. Yeah, they were in the middle of spawning.
That's incredible.
It was I think like 57 degrees when I took that picture in the water. It was real early springtime. It was not comfortable, but they were worth it.
It's cool picture.
Beautiful fish.
Yeah, and people ought to go check out your Instagram. I think the Zen Ginger found your YouTube. She was checking to see if it was your YouTube. I said, I don't think he puts a lot on there right now, but maybe if we share it out, other people will go check it out.
Yeah, if you guys keep bothering me, maybe I'll have to find something to do with all this footage I have, because if I'm out taking pictures, I usually take a couple of clips of video too.
Yeah, that would be great. So Tennessee Fish Keeper says, I am near Knoxville also. So Tennessee Fish Keeper, I don't know that we've met. We are members of the East Tennessee Aquatic Association. So if you haven't heard about us, look that up and reach out, and I'll get you some information. We're a new local club that just started up this year. We started meeting in January. We've met every month except for April, when we did our swap on the date that we normally meet. So you should definitely check that out. And anyone else in the area, I know Tennessee Aqua is here too. Although I'm not sure what part of the state you're from, Tennessee Aqua. I realize Tennessee's a long state. Tanner's a few hours away. He makes it though.
Yeah, I come with me. Yeah. Also, if you're near the Nashville area, there's a Nashville club starting soon. So
yes,
we're starting to cover. We're East Tennessee's covered. Middle Tennessee's about to be covered. So if you're in that area, shoot me a message if we're trying to work on it.
Yeah, we're excited about that. When we first started working on the East Tennessee Aquatic Association, Tanner got involved. He was really excited that we were doing it. He was like, I just moved from Knoxville and now you start a club. And he told us that he wanted to be involved because he was interested in starting one in Middle Tennessee. And so he would like to participate as much as possible and, just kind of work with us on everything. And then, hopefully we would help him out once he got started over there. And I'm looking forward to those days. Those will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. You'll have to come to Nashville for the meetings then.
Right. Yeah. You can't put it on the same week as ours though.
No, it'll have to be different weekends.
Please don't do that.
All right. Tennessee Fish Keeper, Iran. Oh, okay. So we got Xanadu. I don't know if the pause is necessary. I really want to just call it Xanadu. I think that's what you're going for. And I like it. I think it's great. Everybody's talking about everybody's other names. Yeah. So that's cool. Keeper Kane saying nice to see locals in the chat. Yeah, Keeper Kane is current president of the ETAA. Skull Aquatics just subbed to somebody. Zen Ginger's sharing Derek's Insta. Thank you for that. Atkins Nature Aquarium says, hey, everyone. And Newport. Okay, 45 minutes from Knoxville. Hey, once a month, you can make it out. In October, we'll have our fall fish swap be bigger than our first one, for sure.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. Big Tank Hank is here in the house.
We got Silver Creek Aquarist.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, thank you, everyone in the chat. It's great to see that scroll through and everybody just talking. I talked about last week we had Sean from Pec Tech on, and he and I were talking, and I was like, whenever I'm in a live stream, I'm one of those people always talking about all kinds of stuff in the chat. So I love that people do it. I realize how difficult that is to not pay attention to now while I'm on a live stream. So I love it. It makes me want to mess around with Bob that much more. Bob Steenfot. I love going into Bob Steenfot's. It's not like trolling. Like I genuinely enjoy talking with him about it, but I like getting him off on Sasquatch every now and then. It's a lot of fun. One of these days will be big enough that Bob will come into our live stream and get us off track talking about Bigfoot. All right, Derek. So I asked you to do all of the work this week. I was like, you're going to carry all the load this week on this live stream. No, we're not going to do that to you. But we
I was going to say you didn't say that. Oh no.
Oh well, it was implied. You should have understood that that's what I meant. But yeah, we want to talk about saving native species. The last time you were on, we talked about what CFI and what you do as far as to protect native species.
Yeah, I barely remember what we talked about last time. We were all over the place.
We were.
But one thing that I wanted us to talk about that we didn't get to was what could we do as aquarists? Like, is there anything that we should be doing to help, with the conservation of our native species? So that was the question that I presented to you. And I know you had a few ideas that you could share. And so if you want to go through, talk about those, that this would be a great time for that.
Yeah. I probably the most accessible thing that we came up with is, people need to just not release their fish into the wild ever. That's something that, people mean well, and, people have a goldfish that gets too big or something, and they, see a nice pond and decide to throw it in there. And, places like Lake Tahoe in California now have an invasive population of goldfish that are kind of wrecking things. Stuff like that happens all the time. There's a lot of fish lovers out there, a lot of people that have fish, and yeah, they mean well. I mean, but it's just really important to never let anything go into the wild where it doesn't belong. And not only
this up real quick. Xanadudu says, did he say these are cherry darters?
Cherry darters, yes, correct.
Cherry darters. So I pulled you off what you were talking about. So I apologize there, but I wanted to make sure that we covered that. I thought it was correct, but I knew I'd be wrong if I answered. But a lot of times people have the best of intentions when they do that. They think, I can't provide a good habitat for it. I'll put it in a pond. It'll be contained, but then something happens, where the water rises and it gets off into, some kind of, tributary coming off the pond when there's a flood or something, and ends up somewhere else, or maybe they throw it in the lake. And it's just not a good thing to do, because a lot of times, especially with like goldfish, they can really outcompete a lot of native species.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing that most of the aquarium species that are popular are tropical, because they could not live somewhere like this year round and breed in the wild and everything. But if you go to South Florida, it's hard to find a native fish. It's all cichlids. It's all, peacock bass. There's, catfish. There's Asian swamp eels. There's all sorts of stuff down there. And a lot of that was just accidental from fish farms getting flooded during hurricanes and things like that. But a lot of it is also just people, dumping pets in their golf course, and then it floods, and then it, flows out into a river, and, stuff gets all over the place.
Yeah, it's not a good thing to do. I know I've been enjoying the Garden of Eaters live streams, and that's something that he's been talking about a lot, because he is in Central Florida. And there's new laws that are being presented that will make the hobby even more difficult for them. At the same time, it's understandable that they're trying to keep the invasive species out. So it's one of those things where, as an aquarist, as part of the hobby, you have to make the decision. You're going to be part of the problem or part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Florida is having to face that right now and make stronger, possibly pass stronger laws that will really hurt the hobby in the area, but to save native species. So
yeah. I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about, is when you get into the hobby, there's a responsibility that you have, to protect the environment. And I'm not saying people who keep aquariums are, coming out to harm the environment. I would say most people who keep them want to see. I mean, everyone's joined here. We're talking about saving native species. Yeah. We all want to see and help the environment. It's just, I think a big thing is lacking is people are like, oh, I'll just throw this fish out here. It won't do any harm. It's more of an education aspect potentially.
I think some of it has to do with people just aren't aware how specialized and a lot of our native species, like the cherry darters, only live in the Caney Fork drainage in Middle Tennessee. So if an invasive species got dumped in there, it takes a pretty small area to impact that fish and, hurt it across its entire range. Some of the fish that we work with, the really endangered stuff only lives in a single stream. So, someone throws an Oscar in there and they start eating all the darters, even if it's just over the summer, it's not good. So.
Yeah. And that is one of the things where on the front end of the hobby, we have to be, we have to consider, can I give this animal a good home? And sometimes the answer is no. And thankfully there are some good stores that will ask questions and keep people from getting certain fish. But at the same time, there's others that are just willing to move a fish. And it's unfortunate when you end up, you see it all the time on Facebook, people trying to get rid of something that they can no longer keep. And we've got Stephen P. saying hello from Louisville. All right. Up at the, which one is this? The Triple Crown.
Yeah.
I wanted to do the Triple Crown.
I did too.
Yeah.
Man.
Covering Tanner up with that. I have to move that. I think we'll still cover you up down there.
I heavily debated it, but after traveling so much, I was like, I can't. There's no way I can do another weekend of driving.
Oh, for sure. I've got a trip to Atlanta coming up at beginning of September, and I've got a couple things going on this month, this upcoming month, one next week that's going to have me traveling around. I just couldn't make it happen, but these things were not on my radar before this year. Next year, maybe. Keystone Clash sounded like a lot of fun. Triple Crown, maybe an Aquashella. Who knows?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I only knew of Aquashella. I had no clue of nothing else. And I learned it through the club and meeting other people, but I had no clue of all the events that happen. It's incredible. It's really cool, and I want to definitely get involved with it.
I'm still hoping there's an Aquaticon next year.
Yes, that would be nice.
Yeah, and I'm still hoping we can be a part of it. That's one thing that, as a club, it's part of our mission statement of what we want to do, and that's to, engage the hobby, to help the hobby, to see the hobby grow in our area. And so I think Aquaticon's a great way to do that. I know that I felt like the show was great. We had a good time. I did video talking about how I had a good time, and I would love to see it grow and become, continue to become a bigger and bigger thing. And I think that's going to take more people. And I think we got some pretty good resources to help. So hopefully that can happen. Regina Flange says, hi, everyone. I'm going to have to start coming up with friends quotes to say whenever I see Regina is in the chat. They escape me on the spot. I'm going to have to do some prep. I'm just going to have a spreadsheet. Oh, it's like a moo point. There we go. Anybody get that one?
Derek, if you don't mind, I have a question for you. We talked about how one thing that impacts native fish is, the release of non-native species into the wild. What are some other? What would you say are the main factors that are impacting native fish populations?
Well, it's a broad way to say it, but loss of habitat is probably the number one thing. But that encompasses a whole lot of different things. Thinking back to this past weekend, we got that storm and it muddied up the river. But if our event had happened up in the Smokies, the water probably would have been clear because land use, farming, erosion, development, urbanization, things like that have a tendency to just degrade the stream quality. Anytime there's, anytime you go by a construction site and there's just bare dirt, anytime it rains, some of that dirt, even if they try to capture it, some of it's going to end up in the local waterways, and you're going to get a layer of mud. You know, like the cherry darters, you know, spawning in the gravel, they need that clean gravel. You know, they bury their eggs in the gravel. If that gets smothered in mud, and you know, there's not enough oxygen in the gravel, you have a bad situation for them. So,
yeah, that makes sense. That's something we do in my work. We do a lot of erosion control measures with like, I'm sure like T-deck and all of that.
Like silt fencing and retention ponds and all that stuff.
Yeah. So we kind of make sure, you know, that happens, because that is a huge you know, issue. I think I was telling you at the club the last meeting that one of our projects, we had to do an environmental study, and it was the Elk River, and the name of the fish, it's one of the darters,
boulder
darter, but it was on that list. And I was like, Derek talked about that.
Yeah, that's right. I was down there the week before we talked about that, working with them.
Silver Creek Aquarius says, hire more invasive species retrievers. Problem solved. So would that be getting paid to go out and sing? And maybe drop a hook, little micro hook?
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
I would do that.
Yeah, where would we get signed up for that? Scuba Steve-O's Aquatics says, hey peeps.
How you doing, Scuba Steve?
Steve-O,
sorry.
I took it down. I took it down too quick. Should have left it up. I'm just trying to catch up with the chat.
That definitely makes a good point. You know, with the Smokies having that clear water, there's just so much more vegetation and untouched ground around the streams and rivers. So how could, you know, I mean, the normal person can't go out and say, you know, stop that construction. Is there any way that we could, you know, an everyday person could help with that problem?
A lot of that comes down to, well, I don't want to get political, but, you know, voting for people that want to protect the environment, want to preserve public lands, of course, because, again, the Smokies, all the national forests, that you know, protects a whole lot of habitat for a lot of really sensitive species. But as far as trying to combat the loss of habitat, if you don't own land, there's not a ton that you can do directly. But
what about, you and I were talking about streamside vegetation. You called it, I told you I wasn't going to remember the word, riparian?
Yep. Yeah, so riparian basically means riverside or alongside the stream. So if you do own land, that is one of the most important things you can do is, like, you know, a lot of times you'll see someone that mows the yard, and they have a little creek running through the yard, and they'll mow the grass all the way up to the water's edge. And you know, it looks really nice, and people are afraid of snakes, so they don't want to leave vegetation next to the creek, and you know, all those kinds of things. But the vegetation growing alongside the creek feeds the fish because it produces insects. It shades the water, so it keeps the water cool. You know, a lot of times these streams, if they're exposed to direct sunlight, especially small streams, you know, that water will get hot and they won't support fish life.
Yeah, some cover is important. I've learned that with the micro pond.
Yeah, the micro pond.
Yeah,
definitely.
That first day before I put any fish in it, I had it on one side of my patio, and when I checked it, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock, it was up in the high 90s. I was like, oh, that's not going to work. I can't do that. So I had to move it into a covered area. Now, thankfully, it's all going to be covered soon. So I'm having some dry contacts going on for some reason. All of a sudden, I should swap them out or taken them out. So I'm blinking a lot if anybody notices. I'm like, I can't see. But landowners definitely have a responsibility to protect the native species. And, you know, if any of us as aquarists own property on waterways, that's definitely something to consider. Like you said, something simple as, I've never thought about that. You know, I live in an area where there's multiple creeks that come together into one of the smaller, one of the larger creeks, and you know, the amount of people who mow all the way up to it, I rarely see vegetation sticking up around the creeks.
And this is it's kind of counterintuitive until you really think about it, but it also makes it a little more accessible. You know, even if you have a little ditch that is only wet, you know, when it's raining, the headwater streams are the most important because, sorry, the cat is scratching next to me. Yeah, I mean, the headwater streams, you know, all the water flows downstream. So, you know, even if you have, you know, a ditch in your yard that's not wet all the time, it's still very important to try and protect that and keep it from, you know, mucking up the water downstream.
Yeah.
And a lot more people live on property that has a little ditch going through the yard than live next to a big river. So
yeah, here recently, a lot of people have.
Yeah, it makes it a lot more accessible.
Keeper Kane says, I know it's not aquatic, so we can't allow it. Just kidding. But I'm really considering making the trip to Norp Tinley.
I've always wanted to go to Tinley. That's a big reptile show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we won't allow that.
Yeah, no, get that out of
another
here.
Live stream for that.
I'm sure they have aquatic animals there.
Oh, the Zen Ginger. We were on a break. Pivot. That's another one that came to mind. I didn't see in the chat. Did anybody notice the moo point? The moo point's one of my favorite jokes from Friends. I use that one a lot. It's a moo point.
I wasn't a Friends person. I haven't seen much of it.
Every time I hear someone say, "Oh, I'm trying to click on it, but it's not showing up." Oh, it might be my internet.
It's showing up on my end.
Okay, it was my internet. It's caught up now. It was doing something crazy. Every time I hear someone say, "I'll throw it in the creek," it's from a weekend hobbyist, non-aquarist, and that's probably true. Most aquarists, I mean, once you spend some time in the hobby, and you know, you're online and you're looking up stuff, and you know, you're talking to other aquarists, you do pick up on that pretty quick. I knew pretty quick not to throw my my mollies into the local pond or tributaries.
Yeah, I think we talked about this earlier in the day, but I figured I'd probably be kind of preaching to the choir with that one, because also if you're you know, as big of a fish nut as we are, you probably know someone that wants that fish that you have, so you can find someone to give it to. So
yep, this is always true. One thing that I did want, and like you said, when we were talking about it before, you were like, I don't know that that's even necessary with the people who will be on the live stream. I was like, no, you have no idea. I have heard stories about people who have done it, and they were aquarists, so it does sometimes happen. But at the same time, you know, probably not as often. And then the other thing, and you hear it with hikers, if you've done any hiking, you always hear, whatever you take in, take out. Don't leave it behind. And it's the same thing. You know, when you're on the waterways, you know, it's not the place just to throw it out and to leave it, because that stuff can cause problems. Whatever you're leaving behind.
It's definitely look up the tenets of leave no trace. And anytime you are out in the wild, outside of your house, even try and, you know, practice that, because there's some, it's, you know, we're losing quite a bit of the areas that are natural and pristine, I would try to say, but I don't know if anywhere is fully pristine. But it's definitely the leave no trace. If you've hiked or camped, you've probably heard about it. I think that's the best practice for most anything with the environment.
On the bright side,
our impact.
I think we've as a culture have gotten a lot better about that over the decades, because I hear stories about people in the 60s, and you know, people were throwing trash everywhere. You know, you had trash, you'd throw it out the car window. Like, people, you know, it has improved over the years for sure.
Oh, I'd agree on that part. The littering and that stuff. quite a few less hills with tires on the other side of the big old mounds.
And leaving it as you found it as well, because I know a lot of times in the Smokies you'll find people who stack rocks along the rivers, and you get into some of those hiking forums and groups on Facebook, and oh man, you get a picture
spicy
of that
in there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. There's been pictures of people doing it, and like, do you know who this person is? Like, whoa.
Yeah,
that's not gonna go well.
I follow. He's like a biologist or researcher, and he got on that tangent the other day on Twitter. Can't quite remember his name, but it was like it was blowing up. People were like going. He was like, I can't believe people are stacking rocks, and people were posting pictures and going in, and he was like, we gotta like. He was like, anytime I see one, I am kicking it down.
Yeah. Well, and one of my favorite trails is the Middle Prong. Have either of you been on Middle Prong?
I have.
Middle Prong's amazing. If you're ever in the Smokies and you want a fairly easy hike that's very scenic, Middle Prong. That's the one I always recommend. I don't think it gets enough visitors. But at the same time, I love it so much I should quit telling people to go there.
I was going to say, don't say that. I'm sure it's getting enough.
Yeah, it's a terrible trail.
It's a horrible trail, but it used to be a logging road. It was one of the last logging sites in the Smokies, and so the trail's wide. So if you're with a group, you can go like 5 or 6 wide walking together, and that's always a lot of fun. It's not narrow trails, but it goes. It's like 4 miles up to where we always go. We stop at Indian Flats is usually where we stop, but it's about 4 miles up, I think. And it's all cascades the entire way. The entire hike has cascades. And there's always like every so many yards stacked rocks out there in the middle of a boulder that's just got water flying everywhere. And it would have been a sight to see that person scale up there and place it. But I honestly didn't understand the importance of not doing that until I started hiking more and checking out the forums, because I didn't realize. But I mean, it makes sense. Those things topple, they're going to cause damage. And then another thing, to small species that are in the water. And then, another thing is people like to dam up the water and play in it. And I know that I have done that growing up.
I did that as a kid.
As an adult.
Oh.
But I do not do it anymore. But yeah, it can cause some issues.
I'm going to catch up with the chat real quick.
Yeah, I did see John.
John has joined Select Pet. How you doing, John? It's good to see you in the chat.
He says he's working on Triple Crown, so he's got to go.
Yeah.
He's just stopping by.
I gotcha. Thanks for stopping. I hope you enjoy it. I wish that I could make it. Really kind of bummed, but next year that would be nice. And then he says only leave footprints. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, so Bobby from Michigan says, I contract at apartment complexes. All the ponds are full of goldfish from tenants releasing them when they move out. Wow. Yeah.
I actually have found, I live in an apartment complex. A couple of my tanks have came from the dumpster down at the, I was going to throw trash away. This was actually a couple of weeks ago, and they're all small tanks. And I was like, what is that? I saw it poking out from behind the dumpster. It was a little, of course, like a 10-gallon full of the pink gravel that we all love. So that immediately went in the truck. But yeah, people just, it's a lot of, the people who don't stick around, they toss it. But
yeah. Let's see. I didn't even read this one before I clicked it. MedCow74. When I was in Scouts, we were taught to leave the campgrounds cleaner than we found it. Absolutely. That was always something that was taught. I was personally not a Scout, but my uncle was a park ranger for the Scouts. And so I got to live a lot of that.
There is, I'd have to look up the details. I haven't gotten a chance to participate in it, but I think there is something called the Tennessee River Rescue. And I think they do have a litter cleanup program, and they kind of make a big event out of it. I know they do. I know they at least do it down in Chattanooga, but I think there's a stretch of the river in the Knoxville area that they do it on. Also.
They do Third Creek and Hines, not Hines Creek. I'm sorry, it's Third Creek and then one of the other, maybe Second Creek, and then the Tennessee River. They do. When I was in college, the club I was in helped them out, but we would just get in canoes and literally just fill up the canoes, with trash, and it was always fun, but also you're like, is this stuff really? And like we found some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But
my daughter's
definitely. There's also some organizations ran through the University of Tennessee. Hydro Volunteers, I think is the name. Hydro Tears. It's a play on word with volunteer and hydro
vols.
It may be that, but they also do some things similar to cleanups like that.
I know. Like I said, I've been looking at kayaks. Actually, I've been looking at kayaks a lot longer than just recently. But one of the kayak groups, I know they do something. I think it was with Beaver Creek. There's like an association that takes care of Beaver Creek, and they have one time or a few times during the year where they float down it just collecting trash as they go.
Yeah, Beaver Creek went. I grew up. Beaver Creek ran through my backyard almost.
Yeah,
but it went from you could not float down it. You had to do several, get out and carry your kayak, and they've got it to the point where you can float about 10 miles down. I think they're doing a great job.
That's what I want to do because I grew up around Beaver Creek too. I didn't know we were that close growing up.
Yeah, the Weigels farm.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my backyard.
Okay, I know exactly where you were. I was the other end. I was off towards Halls is where I grew up.
Okay.
So, back when the tornadoes came through as a kid, I still remember that it came down Beaver Creek. Let's see. I noticed Bobby mentioned you were talking about getting tanks out of dumpsters. He said the same thing, or they said the same thing. The tanks next to dumpsters found at least 10 tanks this year.
I have not found that many, but it was definitely a kind of like a little treat taking the trash out and coming back with a tank.
I definitely have a few dumpster tanks myself.
I've never looked across one. Jimmy P's Aquariums says hello.
Great How's it going, Jimmy P?
Thanks for showing up. Oh, I have to confess, Jimmy reminds me of it because I got the idea from him. Well, he didn't give me the idea, but something he said gave me the idea. I was trying to do the 30 videos in 30 days. I've already stopped. I couldn't keep up with it. And not only could I not keep up with it, I just trying to find the time to enjoy doing it and also having family responsibilities and work and club, because club stuff is the first bump that kind of knocked me out of doing it. And it didn't work out. So I am going to start getting regular videos back out, but not as often as every day. It was just something that I wanted to do for fun. And when it stopped being fun, I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have done this. Actually, it's not that I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have said I was doing it. Because what was funny is Sean and I were talking about it. So when we were at his house and he wanted to do the opening for his video and he was asking me about the channel and I brought it up, a couple days later, I quit doing it. And I was like, oh, man, because he put that video out like, the next week. I was like, that's right. I'm still not doing that. So, yeah.
I still need to watch that video.
It's a good video. Yeah. Peck Tech should check it out.
Yeah.
I'm looking through the chat. It takes some real talent to keep the conversation going and to look through the chat. So all of you all who are regular streamers, I applaud you. I find it very difficult. I can't not commentate. I cannot do commentary while I'm reading through the chat.
I can't talk and read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a multitasker. Also, I'm on a smartphone, so I don't even have room on my window to look at the chat at all.
Yeah. Stephen P says, I can do 30 videos in about 2 years. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been working on my first video for about 3 weeks now, so yeah. I feel that.
You guys are making me feel a lot better about not maintaining a YouTube.
We're trying. You know, what's funny is I've got probably 3 or 4 videos recorded. I just need to get them finished and put them out. But
yeah,
we've had so
the
much
editing
going
part
on.
is not fun.
Yeah.
My problem is I think that like every video might be like a full documentary because I just keep seeing things. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to add in. This fish did this, and I'm like, okay, who's gonna sit here and watch, you know, the Discovery Channel on my aquariums?
So Stephen P says, I have a Jenna P to read the chat for us. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Go ahead, Tanner. Start reading the chat.
Yeah, I'll just sit here and read.
It is. Jimmy P's talking about it's nice to have a sidekick. I can see how that works. I can see how that works. Kind of an update because I haven't done anything. The tank, the 75 starting to fill in. I think the last video I did was me pulling out a 5-gallon bucket worth of melting plants from neglect. And but yeah, I put that one out there so people could learn from it. You know, if you let things go, sometimes there's consequences, and it's looking good. It's starting to grow back. Everything's coming back. I mean, nothing was really bad off. It just didn't look good. It was time to clean it out. And the duckweed is already growing back, so it's time to start scooping some more out.
You know, on the topic of duckweed, I didn't think I had any of it in any of my tanks.
Here we go.
I have found it in 3 tanks so far.
Oh no.
And we've been talking about it quite a bit, so I think I'm going to go ahead and blame Mitch for it. I think my theory, a little piece was sticking on your shirt or something.
Oh, it's possible.
It made it all the way back here because it is now. I was looking. I was like, the other night I was looking at the top of the tank and I was like, what is that? I was like,
that's what happened.
So
that's what happened
basically,
to me.
I'm just going to break them all down now. I think I'm done.
Burn it. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna have to sit there with tweezers and pick out every little piece.
I'm in the middle of moving, and one of the tanks that I moved had hydra and duckweed in it.
Ooh.
And so it's been sitting. I did not set it up yet, but I took all the gravel out of it. I took it to work. We have a turkey fryer that we use to boil our substrate to sterilize it between fish in our systems. I boiled my substrate, and I'm going to spray the tank out with alcohol and bleach it and just try and get rid of every last trace of duckweed. Even if it's dried on and white stuck to the side of the glass, I don't want it in there.
Oh, it's still alive.
You.
Duckweed never dies.
Yeah.
Duckweed is hydra. You cut it in half, it grows 2 heads.
Yeah. Well, I think technically it is a flowering plant, so I think it may actually be able to set seed.
I didn't know it could flower.
Yeah, I think it is technically the smallest flowering plant. Like the flowers are like basically microscopic, but I've had it pop up. You know, I had it eradicated for a year, and then I'll see a piece of it, and I'm like, you know, that it had to have come from the tank from a seed or something. It's miraculous.
I've heard even if it gets dried out and there's some left, you can get it again. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know if that's from the seed or what, but yeah, that stuff's when I first got it, I hadn't had anything new except for a snail. I bought a mystery snail and put it in the tank. And so I'm pretty sure it came in on some poop that mystery snail placed in the tank.
Probably.
Because one day, just randomly, I'm doing a water change and I'm like, what's that little leaf? There's 2 leaves right there. I was like, is that duckweed? Is that what people are always talking about, duckweed? And I was like, well, it might be kind of cool to let it grow. It's not cool. Not cool. We've got some new people coming in. Unison is here. Will Flower talking about duckweed, right?
Watermeal. Oh, that stuff is awful.
Okay. I've not had that. I don't know what that is.
I haven't heard of that.
It is smaller than duckweed.
Oh, God. No.
I'm going to have nightmares tonight.
All right, I'll see y'all later.
we gotta change topics.
It's like green sand that floats on top of your tank. It's crazy stuff. Yeah.
That doesn't sound cool.
We've got the Garden of Eder. How's it going, everyone? Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining, Eaters. I was talking about you all and the whole Florida laws earlier. You should check that out. Let's see. Dr. Black put a rock outside with duckweed for a year. It came back when he put it in the tank. Skull Aquatics. That's frightening. I believe that's true. I really do. I've dipped it out. I'm not like let the tank go dry or anything to get rid of it, but I am scooping it out like crazy.
See, I haven't added anything new to these tanks for at least a month. They haven't had duckweed for probably 3 months, and all of a sudden there's duckweed. So I'm subscribing to the flowering theory. Either that or I don't know. It flew in from outside. Who knows?
You had some duckweed. You had some duckweed pollen on your shirt.
Probably. I went to the meeting and then came back covered in duckweed.
Well, I took a ton of duckweed to that meeting. I was walking around sprinkling it on people to see what would happen. I think that was when I told people I was under the impression, or I had the theory that there's a troll who sneaks into people's houses who have pristine tanks and places duckweed and laughs the whole way out.
He sits there and he goes, blows it right in the top of the tank.
Yeah. Silver. I don't know why I just can't talk. Silver Creek Aquarius says, clearing out my future fish shed and listening in. That's awesome.
Fish shed.
Yeah.
I want a fish shed.
You've got one of those maybe in the works?
I've got a shed that needs some work, and if I work on it, it's probably going to end up with fish in it. So it is something that I want to do eventually. It's not on the docket of items taking place. I got a roof going on next week, so lots of stuff happening. I am going to be hanging a sun sail on the back patio so that I can put more ponds in the back.
That would be cool.
Nice.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
I'll definitely be doing a micro pond next spring, I think. A little late to the game right now.
Yeah, it's warm out there right now. Mine's doing really well. I'm still cleaning out a lot of duckweed and frogbit. Frogbit I like, but it still grows over that surface pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So, the frogbit that we got from Sean, mine does not grow like that. That's a different kind of duckweed than what I have. I have like a miniature duckweed. I don't know if they're different types, but mine, I've had some grow for a while and it's nowhere near that size. Because what I got from Sean's like that big. Not the leaves, but the whole plant is huge.
Yeah,
and the roots reach the bottom.
That frogbit he had was massive.
Yeah, he just chucks it in the yard.
I know.
Tanner like, no, we'll take your scraps. Don't throw that in the yard.
The one that I had definitely is not the leaves that's put out. Well, because I'm in an aquarium, not in natural sun. The leaves aren't near as big as what he was getting.
Oh, we got people talking about green water.
Yeah.
I think
green water is awesome.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I think it's funny. There's some people who fear green water, and there's some people who try their best to have green water and can't get it. And I think that's funny that it's one or the other.
I've tried to set up green water jars and, just to feed fry and whatnot, and I cannot do it.
Yeah.
I'm not good at growing it. Every time I get it, it's not somewhere where I want it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what happens. Jimmy P's Aquarium says, I use duckweed in my guppy breeding tanks. So do your guppies eat it? Because my guppies won't eat it. I've got guppy Endler hybrids out in the patio pond, and I'm scooping out duckweed like crazy. I'm guessing they don't eat it. Maybe I feed them too well. Because I do still drop banana worms in there.
I'm looking at my guppy tank right now, and there's duckweed in it. So I would say, in my opinion, they won't eat it, but I think their mouths might be too small. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm sure it's really good fry cover, though.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, that's probably why. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fan of. I like the red root floaters.
That's what. Yeah,
they're pretty cool.
I've thought about that.
The tongue twister.
That's the only floater that I've managed to kill both times that I've tried to keep it. It's beautiful stuff. I love it. But
I've heard it's surface agitation is the big thing there. It doesn't
like being wet. If the tops of the leaves are wet at all, which is weird, because it's in the water. It will rot, is what I've found. Because I've had it in a tank that has basically no surface movement, and it's done phenomenal. Had it in a tank with some deep, not crazy, but like decent surface movement. All of it that the water would splash up on, it just rotted away.
Was it an open top tank?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I heard that even just the humidity of having a lid on the tank will kill it, and that might be why mine died. But I had a little airspace. I thought that it would probably do okay, but it did well for a while, and then it kind of just burned itself out, and just kind of rotted.
Melted back. Stephen P says, if you talk about duckweed enough, it will appear in your tank via the power of thought. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. And so that's why we're not going to talk about it anymore. Regina Phalange says, I bought salvinia from my local fish store. Guess who came? Oh no. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The duckweed always comes.
The duckweed.
Yeah. I was in one of my local stores. I was like, hey, y'all be interested in some plants I have that are growing out of control? And they're like, yeah, what do you have? I was like, I got all this duckweed. And he's like, no. Get out. That's not even funny. But yeah, salvinia is really cool. How it's got the bumps all over the top.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very floaty. And it is good at outcompeting duckweed, but it won't get rid of it.
See, I was hoping the frog bit would outcompete the duckweed, and I don't think it's happening.
I don't think anything will outcompete duckweed.
Yeah. I think duckweed just grows on top of it.
Like they say, what is it? Cockroaches are the only thing that can survive a nuclear
apocalypse.
Yeah,
it's that and duckweed.
Yeah,
that and duckweed.
There'll be a road for the piece of duckweed on top of it.
All of the aquariums left over after the apocalypse will have duckweed in them because duckweed will survive. Unicene says Hydra with a question mark. I don't know if that was part of any other conversation other than when you brought up having Hydra.
That's the next pest that we have to talk about, I guess.
Yeah. What is happening? Yeah. I see a lot of posts on Facebook and in forums. I talk like I'm in a lot of forums. I go to one. But I see whenever people post a little picture, what kind of algae is this? And it's like, that's Hydra.
Yep. What is the green, the photosynthetic? Because there's a white Hydra and a green Hydra, isn't there? I've had the green before, but I've never had the white.
I've mostly seen the white.
I think it may depend on if you have good lights or not. I think under bright light, I think it'll turn green and photosynthesize.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
That's why I've never seen it green. No.
Yeah, we've been battling it in the hatchery, and we've seen both of it in our tanks, and it kind of seems like it changes color seasonally based on photo period or based on if the lights are bright over the tank or whatever.
Is it mostly in your fry tanks?
That's where it causes the problems. Yeah. Anything that we're feeding brine shrimp to, the hydra population explodes. Even if the baby fish are too big to actually get eaten by the hydra, they'll get stung and irritated and get infections in their fins. And they are. We've been on a campaign the last 2 years to sterilize a lot of our tanks between fish and trying to get rid of hydra. So they're bad news.
Yeah.
Silver Creek says it took 2 days to fill a 29 with algae out in my neck of the woods. And Unicene says there are many species of green water. All the suns work. Yep. Bright light.
Yeah.
Ooh, Vibes Aquatics. Who else use quilt batting to get rid of water dust? So like you just kind of scoop it, like pull it through, or maybe put it in a filter. Is this like pillow stuffing?
Yeah, I'm interested in that because I don't want to be tweezing out all this duckweed. So in the chat, if y'all have any easy ways that won't take me all weekend, that'd be good. Please let me know that.
Here we go. Vibes, filter floss, batting, polyfill is amazing.
Yeah.
Just don't use it longer than a day or it'll clog. Yeah, this is true. I put it in my canister every now and then, but I don't leave it in for very long because it does fill up quick. And there was a video recently where someone put it around, wrapped a sponge filter in it. It might have been Irene with Aquarium Co-op, maybe her channel. I can't remember, but she wrapped it around a filter to clean stuff out. And I thought that was a really good idea. Just throw a rubber band on there and that'll work.
I use it in my fry tanks when I'm doing water changes. I stick it up in the hose to make sure nothing comes out. And then it's good. It's good too to use if you have a sump, you can layer coarse and fine filter. And normally the first 2 layers will take out most everything, and then it's just kind of polishing after that, and it lasts quite a bit longer. But once it gets clogged, I keep it in because sorry, the cat's moving.
I had a dog a couple weeks ago that was a problem. That's fine. No worries. We have all kinds of animals.
She was in my lap. Now she's up under the computer stand, so she may.
Bobby from Michigan says, I'm listening. Got a clean fish room, buckets and nets everywhere. I know that feeling. That's Sunday for me, usually.
Sundays are tank day for me.
Mark says, red root floaters, hates flow. It's true.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Regina says, I had a 150-gallon tub with fancy goldfish. They devoured the duckweed, and I fed them rapashi every day. Yeah, that's, if I put a pond out, I've considered possibly doing goldfish. I don't know. I kind of like, I'd kind of like bluegill or something, depending on how big of a pond I get. I'll start off with something small and work my way up. But yeah, cool. Bluegill, I hear they eat the duckweed. That's my kind of fish. I didn't even realize it.
I like a lot of sunfish.
Yeah. Oh, I see somebody talking about dad quotes. Trying to catch up because we're over. We're done. You guys have any last thoughts before we end?
Stay away from duckweed.
Yeah, I'll be every person that joined the stream. PM me your address. I will send you an envelope with 1 piece of free duckweed.
I didn't know where we were going. I was like, "Ooh, am I going to get a sticker?" No, it's duckweed.
That's what you all get for. That's your prize. Y'all didn't realize it, but there's a free giveaway, and it's duckweed, an envelope of duckweed.
One of those envelopes that when you open it, it goes poof.
It's a duckweed glitter bomb.
Oh no!
That is evil.
I know what I'm having nightmares about tonight.
Something has gone wrong here on this live stream. Stephen P says, I get hydra all the time. I only worry about it in my shrimp tanks. Most of my other fish will eat hydra, especially in the mosh pit tank. Yeah, I've always heard that most fish will eat it, but I think with Derek at CFI, you've probably got some really small fry that were getting stung and having a problem.
And we have big recirculating systems, so it lives in the PVC. There's no way to the only way to get rid of it is chemical treatment, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, we've gone over, so we're going to go ahead and end this. Thank you for coming out. We've enjoyed interacting with the chat. Thank you, Derek, for joining us again. Thank you to the mods. I think Kane's already stepped out, so I'm not going to thank you now. Thank you. This is Ginger. I'm just kidding, Kane. If you happen to watch this on the replay, I don't know why you would, but if you did,
thank you, Kane. Thank you, Ginger.
Absolutely.
Appreciate everybody coming out and joining us. I had a blast.
Yeah,
always.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you for everything.
Yeah. So, like, subscribe, hit that bell, that kind of stuff. If I knew where to send you, I'd send you to whoever's just went live 4 minutes ago. But I, for some reason, don't have that. I should pull that up on fishfamlink.com. No, fishfam.link. Fishfam.link. I plugged it last week, and now I can't even remember the name of it. It's in my browser now. I just have to click on it. I don't have to look it up. So thank you, Jimmy P. Jimmy says, thank you for the very gracious word, fabulous stream. I appreciate that. So, all right, you all have a good evening, and, stay scruffy.